Hey guys, so I was tagged by Voluptuously Skinny to do the post-op to pre-op tag. I was very surprised and flattered that I was tagged since I'm only 3.5 weeks out of surgery. But I guess, well, that does qualify me as a post-opper. So I will tell you guys a few things from my point of view. But the first thing that I'm going to talk about, just in case you don't listen to my entire video, and pretty much everything that I say after this first topic are mostly things that other people have said, but this first topic is something that I don't think that anyone has talked about in their post-op to pre-op video. I am going to talk about body dysmorphia. So a lot of people complain about that after the surgery. And what I have found is that the majority of people who complain about that are people who, before surgery, they always avoided mirrors. They never looked at themselves in the mirror. They also avoided pictures, or they hid behind people and things in their pictures. And so then after surgery, you start taking lots of pictures of yourself, and you can't see the difference in your weight loss. When you lose 10 pounds or even 30 pounds, you don't see any difference. And I think part of that reason is because you don't really have a relationship with yourself. You don't really know how you look. And so it's like if you didn't know how you looked before surgery, you're really going to have a hard time after surgery seeing all of the changes that your body is going through. And so one of the obvious things to do, I don't mean to say obvious things. So one thing that you definitely need to do before surgery is take a lot of pictures. The sooner, the better. I had to do a 6-month supervised weight loss, and I started taking pictures even right before that process started, because once I realized that my insurance company required 6 months, I still had several weeks before I even went into my first doctor's appointment. And so I started taking pictures even then. As much as, some of the pictures, I wasn't very happy, but now that I knew that I was going to be having surgery sometime in the future, the pictures took on a different meaning. And so I was constantly posing for pictures, taking pictures. What's really fun is to take pictures in a place where you know that next year you can go back to that same place and take a picture. So every Thanksgiving, I always go to the Desert Botanical Gardens here in Arizona with one of my friends. And so this year I knew that, next Thanksgiving, I will be post-surgery. So I went around the gardens and I took pictures sitting in certain locations so that next year I can go to those same locations and sit in the same spot and take pictures and then have some really neat before and afters to look at. Okay, so that's kind of off the subject of the body dysmorphia. So I kind of went through a similar type of thing. In 2009, I realized that I had reached my highest ever weight. I am 5'3", and in 2009, one day I woke up and realized that I was 320 pounds at 5'3", okay? So I was horrified for several reasons. One, because I never, ever thought that I would get over 300 pounds. Number two is how I got over 300 pounds without having any idea that I was over 300 pounds. That's what scared me the most. Because if I could wake up one day and all of a sudden I'm 300 pounds, does that mean that I could be 400 pounds one day? Or 500 pounds? Or 600 pounds? I was scared that, how do I know? If this could creep up on me without me knowing, then anything can creep up on me without me knowing. 400, 500, 600 pounds. Because I was one of these people who I have dieted my entire life, off and on, off and on. And so I'm 45 right now. And since I was about 20, I have weighed around 270 pounds. So for all these years, I have always, I've gained and lost and gained and lost. So I've lost 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds and regained the weight. But up until this point, I had never ever gone over about 280 pounds. And so I was going through a really stressful period in my life. And so I knew that I was gaining weight, but I thought I was like 285, 289. It never in my wildest dreams occurred to me that I could be well over 300 pounds and not even know it. So what did I do? Well, first of all, I wanted to make sure that never ever again would I gain that much weight and not be aware of my weight. And so this is where body dysmorphia comes in. This is where you can start now to try to get to know yourself and try to train yourself to be able to see yourself as you really look. And so from that day on, first of all, I started looking at myself every day in the mirror, staring at my face in the mirror every single day. It wasn't easy, especially at 320 pounds, but I forced myself to look. I forced myself to look at my entire body naked in the mirror every single day. No avoiding it. That is what I made myself do. And like I said, at first, it was hard. And I don't remember how long it was hard because that was in 2009 and now this is 2017. And I do it every day still. And it's natural to me. It's not hard anymore. So I don't remember how long it took me to get used to it. That's why I say start now. So I looked at my face every day. I looked at my body every single day. Next, when I was shopping or when I'm in department stores and I pass by a mirror, I would force myself to stop and look in the mirror. Even better, I would walk by the mirror and then take a glance at myself out of the corner of my eye. You know how if you catch a glimpse of yourself out of the corner of your eye, you kind of almost don't even recognize that person? I wanted to do that so I could catch it sounds silly, catch myself unawares. So I can kind of see myself the way that other people see me. When I would just look at myself in those mirrors out of the corner of my eye, I would look so huge, much bigger than I thought that I looked. But it probably was more of a true representation of what I really looked. Now that probably was one of the hardest things for me to do, was to force myself to look at those mirrors in the department store. And every time I walked by one, I would stand and just glance at myself really fast in the mirror and keep walking. I still do that to this day. So what, it's been, I can't count, 8 years. I still do that to this day. I look at myself in the mirrors. I also never let very much time go by without stepping on a scale. I mean, now if you're thinking about having weight loss surgery or you're about to have weight loss surgery, you're probably already used to weighing yourself and stepping on a scale. But during this time, I made sure that really pretty much I never let 2 weeks go by without stepping on a scale so that it never snuck up on me again, those 300 pounds. And so now, as I'm losing weight, last week I had a very low loss of 1.8 pounds. However, when I looked in the mirror, I could see that I was losing more than that. Even though I hadn't pulled out the tape measure yet, I hadn't looked at any comparison pictures from 1 week to the other week. Now, because I'm so used to my body, I'm used to staring at my face, I'm used to staring at my body naked, I know exactly what I look like. I can see every single little change as it happens. Before it even happens on the scale, I can see it. So yeah, I might get a little down when the scale doesn't move, but I can see it in my face. I can see it in my neck here. I see a big difference here between now and 1 week ago. And I wouldn't have seen that if I didn't know myself. So I think that that's the number one thing that everyone should start working on right now, especially pre-surgery. Get to know yourself. Get to know your face. Get to know your body. No matter how painful it is, do it. Take lots of pictures so you can have some before pictures. And look at the pictures. Take them and look at them often, I think, so that you can, once again, become aware of how you look. Take measurements as soon as possible. If you have a 3-month or 6-month supervised weight loss, even better, take measurements at the beginning of that, and then also take measurements right before you have surgery, the day of the surgery or the night before the surgery, because you're going to want to use those. You're going to want to see those measurements later, especially because getting used to looking at yourself and getting to know yourself takes a lot of time, maybe more time than the 6 months or 3 months that you have until you're going to have the surgery. I don't remember how long it took me, because now it's 8 years later, and now I'm doing it consistently. But like I said, I don't know how long it took. But now I can see all the changes. And ever since 2009, I have never gotten back up over 300 pounds again. Yes, I still continue to gain weight and lose weight, but my weight never went higher than about 285. And that was because, or 286 actually. That was because I was always aware of when I was gaining weight. And whenever I realized that I was gaining too much weight, I nipped it in the bud as soon as I could. And so that's something that I really want to bring into play now after surgery. Once I get below 200 pounds, I want to make sure that I'm doing all the things that I did before surgery to make sure that I didn't get back over 300 pounds. I'm going to be doing to make sure that I don't get back over 200 pounds. Once I finally do get below 200 pounds. Okay, I didn't mean to talk about that for so long, so now I'm just going to quickly say some other things that I think are very important, but they are things that other people have already said. Do your research. Research in several different places. My favorite forum is Bariatric Pal. The forums are great, and you also can search for things in the forums. So I was concerned about being denied for my insurance. So I searched the forum for people who were denied by their insurance companies, and I wanted to see the reasons why they were denied. I searched the forum for people who had the same type of insurance that I had, just so I could see if it was possible that, if my insurance seems to be more nitpicky about certain things than other people's insurance. I searched the forum so that I could get more information on some of the complications that people had, because it is important for you to read up on some of the possible complications that can happen. And then, of course, I looked at the success stories, and I looked for people who were around my age having the surgery. And let's see. I also used the forums to help me research my surgeon that I ended up choosing. Before I actually went with my surgeon, I did talk to someone who I didn't know, talked to them, through email in the forum, because I had searched the forum and I had found someone who had had my surgeon. Now, at first, I had already done all of my research. I had researched the hospitals here, and so I had chosen the hospital first, which is maybe a little bit backwards. Well, actually, I had narrowed it down to 2 different hospitals. And then I started researching the surgeons at those hospitals. And so then when I narrowed it down to my hospital, and then my clinic has 4 different surgeons there. And so I narrowed it down to 2 surgeons at this clinic that uses this particular hospital, Banner Gateway. And it is a Blue Cross Blue Shield, I can't remember what it's called now, Bariatric Center of Excellence, which is one of the reasons that I chose it. because I didn't know if my insurance company required that. I do have Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I don't think they didn't require me to have a center of excellence. But I figured, why shouldn't I go to a center of excellence just in case they would require it? And then also because they're a center of excellence. So, that made it easy because there are a lot of places here in Arizona to go for your surgery, but there are only 2 centers of excellence. So, so research the forums. I read the forums all the time. And that is actually then what led me to YouTube. I didn't know anything about YouTube at first. Watch as many YouTube videos as possible, just so you can see, everyone is talking about their own journey. And so you're not watching it so that you can see what's going to happen to you. You're watching it so you can see all of the different possibilities. And so that's why you should watch as many as possible. Also on YouTube, you can search for things like, denied insurance or, the other thing that I searched for were people who said that they regretted the surgery. So I searched for that on YouTube. I also searched for that on Bariatric Pal. Now, usually on YouTube, a lot of the people were, on YouTube, the nice thing is that usually you would see people might say that sometime during the first 3 months of their surgery, and then you can see later that, they changed their mind and now they love the surgery. In the forums, there were people who never changed their mind, or at least never came back and told us that they changed their mind. So it was nice to see both sides of the story. I think it's useful to look at that just so you can see what are the reasons that they regretted the surgery, and do you think that that might happen to you? Do you think that those are reasons that if that happened to you that you would regret it too? I think that might be it, because now that I'm 3.5 weeks out, so far absolutely nothing has come as a surprise, because when I say I watched hundreds of videos, I really did, because I can watch these videos while I work. So pretty much for about the first 4 or 5 months, I watched 8 hours of YouTube videos every day, 5 days a week. Then after that, I just started watching maybe about 3 or 4 hours, 5 days a week while I was working. So that was a lot of videos. So nothing that has happened to me has come as any surprise whatsoever. Although, of course, when it happens to you, it's very different. Everyone talks about constipation, but man, is it different when it happens to you. People talk about having problems eating or having problems drinking. Those are just words until it actually happens to you. So make sure that you bear that in mind, that you're just listening to words. The reality is so much different than the words. So try to make sure now that you can handle it. And I think the more videos that you look at and the more people that you see go through it, that will help you to be able to make up your mind once and for all if you think that it is worth it for you to have this surgery. So really that's it. Research, look at yourself in the mirror, take measurements, take pictures, and I hope to see you all on the Loser's Bench. Bye.